Question 1. The efficiency study reveals that a registered Diplomate reporter is consistently experiencing a 2-3-second delay in their real-time translation output during a critical deposition. The reporter is concerned about maintaining the verbatim accuracy of the record while also addressing the noticeable lag. Which of the following actions best upholds the professional responsibilities of a registered Diplomate reporter in this situation? Option A. Continue transcribing at the current pace without acknowledging the delay, assuming the participants will adapt to the slight lag. Option B. Prioritize absolute accuracy in transcription, even if it means the real-time feed remains slightly delayed, and discreetly signal the issue to the presiding officer if possible. Option C. Immediately halt the proceedings to address the technical issue causing the delay. Option D. Attempt to accelerate transcription speed to eliminate the delay, accepting a minor increase in the risk of minor transcription errors. Correct answer is B. Prioritize absolute accuracy in transcription, even if it means the real-time feed remains slightly delayed, and discreetly signal the issue to the presiding officer if possible. Explanation. The efficiency study reveals that a registered Diplomate reporter, RDR, is experiencing a consistent lag of 2-3 seconds in their real-time translation output during high-stakes legal proceedings. This scenario is professionally challenging because the core competency of an RDR is to provide immediate, accurate, and fluent verbatim records. A delay, even seemingly minor, can disrupt the flow of testimony, impede legal counsel's ability to react and strategize, and ultimately compromise the integrity of the official record. The RDR must balance the pressure of maintaining speed with the absolute necessity of accuracy and fluency, all while adhering to professional standards and potentially regulatory requirements for verbatim reporting. The correct approach, which prioritizes immediate, albeit slightly less fluent, accuracy while signaling the issue, represents best professional practice. This aligns with the RDR's primary ethical obligation to produce a faithful and complete record. By acknowledging the lag and focusing on accuracy, the RDR ensures that the foundational element of their role is met: the implicit communication of the issue to the court or relevant parties, perhaps through a subtle nonverbal cue or a brief, discreet note if appropriate and permissible, allows for potential adjustments in pacing or a later discussion about technical support. This proactive, albeit subtle, approach respects the legal process and the need for an accurate record above all else. An incorrect approach that attempts to catch up by sacrificing accuracy for speed would be a significant regulatory and ethical failure. This directly violates the RDR's duty to produce a verbatim record. The potential for introducing errors, misinterpretations, or omissions is high when speed is prioritized over accuracy. Such a failure could lead to miscarriages of justice, challenges to the validity of the record, and disciplinary action under professional conduct guidelines. Another incorrect approach, continuing without acknowledging the lag, is also professionally unacceptable. This demonstrates a lack of awareness or a failure to address a critical performance issue that directly impacts the proceedings. It can be seen as a dereliction of duty, as the RDR is not actively managing their performance to meet the demands of the situation, potentially leading to a compromised record without any attempt at remediation. Professionals should employ a decision-making framework that begins with identifying the core professional obligation to provide an accurate and complete record. When performance issues arise, the immediate priority is to mitigate any negative impact on the integrity of that record. This involves self-assessment of performance against established standards, understanding the potential consequences of deviations, and taking appropriate, albeit sometimes discreet, action to rectify the situation or inform relevant parties. The framework should also include a commitment to continuous professional development to maintain the necessary skills for speed, accuracy, and fluency. Question 2. The risk matrix shows a potential for misinterpretation of legal citations by a registered Diplomate reporter. During a deposition, a witness refers to a specific statute, and the reporter encounters the abbreviation USC in their notes, which they must transcribe into the official record. The reporter is confident that USC relates to a federal legal source, but is unsure of its precise meaning in this context. What is the most accurate and professionally responsible transcription of the abbreviation USC in this legal context? Option A, U.S. Supreme Court. Option B, United States Constitution. Option C, United States Court. Option D, United States Code. The correct answer is D, United States Code. Explanation. Scenario analysis. This scenario presents a professional challenge due to the inherent ambiguity that can arise when interpreting legal citations, particularly in the context of official court reporting and legal documentation. A registered diplomate reporter (RDR) must maintain absolute accuracy and fidelity to the source material. Misinterpreting or incorrectly transcribing legal abbreviations can lead to significant misunderstandings of legal precedent, statutory authority, or procedural rules, potentially impacting the integrity of the official record. The RDR's role demands meticulous attention to detail, especially when dealing with the precise language and established conventions of legal citation. Correct approach analysis. The correct approach is to accurately transcribe the legal abbreviation as it appears in the source document, recognizing that USC refers to the United States Code. This upholds the RDR's professional obligation to produce an accurate and verbatim record. The United States Code is the codification of the general and permanent laws of the United States, and its correct citation is fundamental to legal research and understanding. By transcribing USC accurately, the RDR ensures that the official record reflects the precise legal authority being referenced, thereby maintaining the integrity of the proceedings and adhering to the standards of the profession. Incorrect approaches analysis. Transcribing USC as United States Constitution is an incorrect approach because it misinterprets a specific legal abbreviation. The United States Constitution is a foundational document, but it is typically cited as U.S. Const, or similar, not USC. This error introduces factual inaccuracy into the record, potentially misleading readers about the nature of the legal authority cited. Transcribing USC as United States Court is also incorrect. While U.S. can refer to the United States, and C might be part of a court's name, USC, as a standalone abbreviation in a legal citation context, almost invariably refers to the United States Code. This misinterpretation creates confusion and misrepresents the source of law being referenced. Transcribing USC as U.S. Supreme Court is fundamentally flawed. The U.S. Supreme Court is the highest federal court, and its decisions are cited using abbreviations like U.S. or S.C.T. USC does not represent this judicial body. This error significantly distorts the legal context by substituting a legislative source of law with a judicial one. Professional reasoning. Professionals in this field should adopt a systematic approach to legal citation. This involves 1. Maintaining a comprehensive understanding of common legal abbreviations and their meanings within the relevant jurisdiction, in this case, U.S. federal law. 2. Cross-referencing unfamiliar abbreviations with authoritative legal dictionaries, style guides, such as the Blue Book or Old Citation Manual, though not explicitly required for this question's focus on the abbreviation itself, or official government resources if immediate recognition is not possible. 3. Prioritizing accuracy and verbatim transcription above all else, especially when dealing with official records. 4. Recognizing that the context of the citation within the document can often provide clues to its meaning. Question 3. Governance review demonstrates that during a complex cross-examination, a witness makes a statement that is rapid, contains a colloquialism, and is potentially ambiguous. The registered diplomate reporter is uncertain of the precise intended meaning. Which of the following actions best upholds the professional and regulatory obligations of a registered diplomate reporter? Option A. Omit the ambiguous statement from the transcript to avoid confusion. Option B. Politely pause the proceedings and request the witness to repeat or clarify the statement. Option C. Make an educated guess as to the intended meaning and transcribe it clearly. Option D. Paraphrase the statement to convey the perceived meaning in a more understandable way. The correct answer is B. Politely pause the proceedings and request the witness to repeat or clarify the statement. Explanation. This scenario presents a professional challenge for a registered diplomate reporter due to the inherent tension between maintaining absolute accuracy and the practicalities of real-time transcription in a high-stakes legal environment. The reporter must balance the verbatim recording requirement with the need for clarity and comprehensibility, especially when dealing with potentially ambiguous or rapidly spoken statements. Careful judgment is required to ensure the official record is both faithful to the spoken word and legally sound. The correct approach represents best professional practice because it prioritizes the integrity of the official record by seeking clarification from the speaker. This aligns with the core ethical and regulatory duty of a court reporter to to produce an accurate and complete transcript. By pausing and requesting clarification, the reporter actively ensures the verbatim nature of the record, preventing potential misinterpretations or omissions that could have significant legal ramifications. This proactive measure upholds the standards of the registered diplomate reporter designation and the regulatory framework governing court reporting, which emphasizes accuracy and fidelity. An incorrect approach that involves making an assumption about the intended meaning of a statement is professionally unacceptable. This constitutes a failure to adhere to the verbatim recording requirement, a fundamental principle of court reporting. Such an assumption introduces a risk of inaccuracy into the official record, which could be challenged and lead to legal disputes. Ethically, it breaches the duty of impartiality and accuracy. Another incorrect approach, such as omitting the ambiguous statement from the record, represents a severe regulatory and ethical failure. This is a direct violation of the obligation to record all proceedings. Omitting information, even if perceived as unclear, fundamentally compromises the completeness and integrity of the official record, undermining the judicial process. A further incorrect approach, such as paraphrasing the statement to make it clearer, also fails to meet the verbatim requirement. Paraphrasing inherently involves interpretation and rephrasing, which deviates from the strict mandate of recording precisely what was said. This introduces the reporter's subjective understanding into the official record, which is impermissible. The professional reasoning process for similar situations should involve a clear understanding of the verbatim recording mandate. When faced with ambiguity, the reporter should first attempt to capture the statement as spoken, even if it appears imperfect. If the ambiguity persists and risks misinterpretation, the immediate and most appropriate action is to politely request clarification from the speaker. This preserves the integrity of the record while ensuring its accuracy. If clarification is not possible or forthcoming, the reporter should meticulously note the ambiguity in the transcript, perhaps by using bracketed notes indicating uncertainty or the exact phrasing as heard. The overarching principle is to err on the side of literal recording and to avoid any action that introduces subjective interpretation or omission. Question 4. System analysis indicates that during a complex civil litigation proceeding, the presiding judge makes a ruling regarding a contract dispute, stating, "The plaintiff's claim that the defendant acted without authority is a matter of prima facie evidence, and the burden of proof now shifts to the defense to demonstrate the actions were not ultra vires." A registered diplomate reporter is tasked with transcribing this statement. Which of the following approaches best upholds the professional and ethical standards of a registered diplomate reporter in this situation? Option A. Omit the phrases prima facie and ultra vires, as they are Latin terms that may not be universally understood and could lead to confusion. Option B. Replace prima facie with on the face of it and ultra vires with beyond their legal power to ensure the meaning is clear to a layperson reading the transcript. Option C. Paraphrase the judge's statement to convey the general idea that the plaintiff has presented enough evidence to proceed and the defendant must prove their actions were authorized. Option D. Transcribe the statement verbatim, including prima facie and ultra vires, as these are specific legal terms that must be accurately recorded. Correct answer is D. Transcribe the statement verbatim, including prima facie and ultra vires, as these are specific legal terms that must be accurately recorded. Explanation. Scenario analysis. This scenario presents a professional challenge for a registered diplomate reporter, RDR, by requiring them to accurately and ethically document legal proceedings involving complex Latin legal terms. The challenge lies in understanding the precise meaning and application of these terms within the specific context of the court, ensuring the transcript reflects the proceedings faithfully without misinterpretation or omission. The RDR must demonstrate a nuanced understanding of legal terminology to avoid errors that could have significant implications for the case. Correct approach analysis. The correct approach involves meticulously documenting the proceeding, including the precise use of Latin terms as spoken by the participants. This aligns with the RDR's ethical obligation to produce an accurate and verbatim record. For instance, when mens rea is used, the reporter must record it as such, understanding it refers to the mental state of the accused. Similarly, habeas corpus must be transcribed accurately, recognizing its significance in challenging unlawful detention. The RDR's role is not to interpret or substitute these terms, but to record them faithfully, allowing legal professionals to apply their specific meanings. This adherence to verbatim reporting is a cornerstone of professional practice for RDRs, ensuring the integrity of the legal record. Incorrect approach is analysis. One incorrect approach would be to substitute a Latin term with a perceived English equivalent without explicit instruction or clarification from the court. For example, replacing bona fide with genuine could alter the legal nuance. While the English word might seem similar, bona fide carries specific legal weight and implications that a simple synonym might not capture. This constitutes an ethical failure to provide a verbatim record. Another incorrect approach would be to omit a Latin term if its meaning is not immediately understood by the reporter. For instance, if ultra vires is used, omitting it because the reporter doesn't grasp its meaning, acting beyond legal power, would be a severe breach of duty. This failure to record crucial legal terminology compromises the accuracy and completeness of the transcript, potentially prejudicing the parties involved. A third incorrect approach would be to paraphrase or summarize the use of a Latin term. For example, if res judicata is mentioned, paraphrasing it as the matter has already been decided would be unacceptable. The specific legal doctrine of res judicata has precise elements and implications that a paraphrase might not convey, thus failing the verbatim requirement. Professional reasoning. Professionals in this role should adopt a systematic approach. First, maintain a constant focus on verbatim transcription. Second, if a term is unfamiliar, note it for later clarification or research, but do not alter the spoken word in the transcript. Third, understand that the RDR's primary duty is to record, not to interpret or translate legal concepts. Fourth, be aware of common Latin legal terms and their general significance, but always prioritize accurate recording over assumed understanding. Finally, if there is any ambiguity or potential for misinterpretation of a term's usage in the proceeding, seek clarification from the presiding judge or attorneys at an appropriate moment, rather than making an assumption. Question 5. Compliance review shows that during a deposition, the reporter allowed the attorney introducing an exhibit to verbally describe it and assign a marker number without the reporter independently verifying the description or ensuring the exhibit was properly secured after marking. What is the most appropriate course of action for the reporter to ensure compliance with best practices for exhibit handling and reporting? Option A. Note in the transcript that the exhibit was marked and described by counsel, but take no further action regarding verification or securing the exhibit. Option B. Rely on the attorney's description and marker number, assuming their diligence, and proceed with the deposition. Option C. Immediately remark the exhibit with a new verified marker number and ensure a detailed description is entered into the record, and secure the exhibit according to established protocols. Option D. Advise the attorney that the reporter cannot be responsible for exhibit marking and handling, and suggest they manage it themselves. The correct answer is C. Immediately remark the exhibit with a new, verified marker number and ensure a detailed description is entered into the record, and secure the exhibit according to established protocols. Explanation. Scenario analysis. This scenario presents a common challenge in the reporting of exhibits, particularly when dealing with sensitive or potentially voluminous documentation. The core difficulty lies in balancing the need for comprehensive and accurate reporting with the practicalities of managing and presenting evidence. A reporter must exercise sound judgment to ensure that all relevant information is captured and properly identified without overwhelming the record or compromising the integrity of the proceedings. The risk of misidentification, improper handling, or incomplete documentation of exhibits can lead to significant legal and ethical repercussions, including challenges to the accuracy of the record and potential disciplinary action. Correct approach analysis. The correct approach prioritizes meticulous adherence to the registered diplomate reporters, RDR, professional standards, and any specific court or deposition rules regarding exhibit handling and marking. This involves clearly identifying each exhibit with a unique marker, ensuring it is properly described in the transcript, and securely storing it according to established protocols. The RDR's role is to create an accurate and complete record, and this includes the proper management of physical or digital evidence presented during the proceeding. This approach ensures that the exhibit is unambiguously linked to the testimony and can be readily accessed and understood by all parties and the court, thereby upholding the integrity of the legal process and fulfilling the RDR's duty to produce a faithful record. Incorrect approach is analysis. One incorrect approach involves assuming that a general description of an exhibit is sufficient without a specific marker, especially if the exhibit is complex or numerous. This fails to meet the RDR's obligation for precise identification, creating ambiguity in the record and potentially hindering future reference or use of the exhibit. It violates the principle of creating a clear and unambiguous record. Another incorrect approach is to delegate the marking and handling of exhibits entirely to a party or their counsel without direct supervision or verification. While parties may present exhibits, the RDR is responsible for ensuring the record accurately reflects their introduction and status. This abdication of responsibility can lead to errors in marking, description, or chain of custody, compromising the integrity of the record and potentially violating RDR ethical guidelines concerning impartiality and accuracy. A third incorrect approach is to store exhibits in an unsecured or disorganized manner. Exhibits are part of the official record, and their safekeeping is paramount. Improper storage risks loss, damage, or unauthorized access, which can have severe consequences for the legal case. This demonstrates a failure to uphold the professional duty of care in managing evidentiary materials. Professional reasoning. Professionals facing exhibit management scenarios should adopt a systematic and diligent approach. First, they must be thoroughly familiar with the specific rules and guidelines governing exhibit handling in their jurisdiction and for the particular proceeding. Second, they should proactively communicate with the parties or their counsel regarding the process for marking and introducing exhibits. Third, they must maintain a clear and organized system for marking, cataloging, and storing exhibits, ensuring each is accurately described in the transcript. Finally, they should always err on the side of caution, ensuring that all actions taken regarding exhibits contribute to the creation of a complete, accurate, and defensible record. Question 6. The performance metrics show a slight increase in response times to judicial requests during high-pressure trial segments, prompting a review of communication protocols. During a particularly intense cross-examination, the judge, without turning from the witness stand, calls out to the reporter, "Reporter, I'll need that transcript section by the end of the day, understand?" Considering the need for optimized performance and adherence to professional standards, which of the following represents the most appropriate immediate response? Option A, a casual "got it, Judge, will do my best." Option B, a polite nod and a quiet "Yes, Your Honor, I will ensure it is provided." Option C, a direct "Your Honor, what specific pages are you referring to? I need to confirm the exact scope before I can commit." Option D, a brief "understood," followed by a discreet inquiry to the clerk about the judge's preferred delivery method for the transcript. The correct answer is B, a polite nod and a quiet "Yes, Your Honor, I will ensure it is provided." Explanation. Scenario analysis. This scenario presents a common challenge for a registered diplomate reporter RDR, where a direct, informal communication style, while potentially efficient in some contexts, directly conflicts with the strict requirements of courtroom decorum and professional conduct. The RDR's role is to provide an accurate and impartial record, which necessitates a demeanor and language that upholds the dignity and seriousness of the court proceedings. The pressure to respond quickly can lead to a lapse in professional judgment, highlighting the need for a robust understanding of the RDR's ethical obligations and the specific rules governing court reporting. Correct approach analysis. The correct approach demonstrates an understanding of the RDR's professional obligations as outlined by the regulatory framework for registered diplomate reporters. This framework emphasizes maintaining a professional demeanor, using precise and formal language, and avoiding any actions or speech that could be perceived as disrespectful or disruptive to the court. Responding with a polite acknowledgement and a commitment to fulfilling the request in the appropriate manner, while maintaining a professional distance, aligns with the expectation of impartiality and decorum. This approach prioritizes the integrity of the record and the respect due to the judicial process. Incorrect approach is analysis, an approach that involves a casual or overly familiar response, such as a colloquial greeting or an assumption of a personal relationship, fails to uphold the required professional distance and decorum. This can be seen as a breach of the RDR's duty to remain an impartial observer and recorder, potentially undermining the seriousness of the proceedings and the authority of the court. Such informality can also lead to misinterpretations or create an unprofessional impression. An approach that involves immediately engaging in a discussion about the content of the proceedings with the judge, outside of the formal record, is a significant ethical and regulatory failure. The RDR's role is to record, not to participate in or comment on the substance of the case. This could be construed as an attempt to influence or an inappropriate disclosure of information, violating the principle of impartiality and potentially compromising the integrity of the judicial process. An approach that involves a dismissive or curt response, even if technically accurate in acknowledging the request, demonstrates a lack of professionalism and courtesy. While the RDR must maintain decorum, this does not preclude politeness. A curt response can be perceived as unprofessional, disrespectful, and unhelpful, failing to meet the standards of conduct expected of an RDR. Professional reasoning. Professionals in this role must constantly balance the need for efficiency with the imperative of maintaining the highest standards of professionalism and ethical conduct. Decision-making should be guided by a clear understanding of the RDR's specific duties, the rules of court, and the ethical codes governing their profession. When faced with situations that could compromise decorum or impartiality, the professional should default to the most formal and respectful course of action, prioritizing the integrity of the court record and the judicial process above all else. This involves a conscious effort to adhere to established protocols for communication and behavior within the courtroom. Question 7. Assessment of the following deposition scenario during the examination of a witness opposing counsel states, objection relevance. The question asks about events that occurred 5 years ago and our case concerns events from the last 2 years. The examining attorney responds, the relevance will be established. I'm asking the question. The deposition officer then states, proceed. How should the registered Diplomate reporter accurately record this exchange? Option A, transcribe objection relevance. The question asks about events that occurred 5 years ago and our case concerns events from the last 2 years. The relevance will be established. I'm asking the question. And omit the deposition officer's statement. Option B, transcribe objection relevance, and then continue with the next question. Option C, transcribe objection relevance. The question asks about events that occurred 5 years ago, and our case concerns events from the last 2 years. The relevance will be established. I'm asking the question. The deposition officer instructed the examiner to proceed. Option D, transcribe objection relevance. The question asks about events that occurred 5 years ago and our case concerns events from the last 2 years. The relevance will be established. I'm asking the question. Proceed. The correct answer is D. Transcribe objection relevance. The question asks about events that occurred 5 years ago and our case concerns events from the last 2 years. The relevance will be established. I'm asking the question. Proceed. Explanation. Scenario analysis. This scenario presents a common challenge in deposition proceeding where a reporter must accurately transcribe testimony while simultaneously identifying and noting potentially objectionable statements. The reporter's role is not to rule on objections, but to ensure the record is complete and accurate, including the objections themselves and the responses or rulings. The challenge lies in distinguishing between a valid objection that needs to be recorded and a mere statement that does not require special notation beyond transcription. The reporter must remain neutral and focused on the verbatim record. Correct approach analysis. The correct approach involves accurately transcribing the objection, the response, if any, and the ruling, if any, as stated by the attorneys or the presiding officer. This ensures that the official record reflects the exact proceedings, including any challenges to the testimony. This aligns with the fundamental duty of a registered Diplomate reporter to create a true, accurate, and complete verbatim record of the proceedings, as mandated by professional standards and likely implied by any governing rules of court or professional conduct that emphasize impartiality and fidelity to the record. Incorrect approach is analysis. An approach that involves omitting the objection entirely is a failure to create a complete record. This deprives the parties and any reviewing court of crucial information about the conduct of the deposition and potential issues with the testimony. This is a direct violation of the reporter's duty to record all relevant aspects of the proceeding. An approach that involves transcribing the objection but not the subsequent ruling or response, if one is made, results in an incomplete record. The objection without its resolution is less informative and can lead to misinterpretations or disputes later. This demonstrates a lack of diligence in capturing the full exchange. An approach that involves paraphrasing the objection or ruling, rather than transcribing it verbatim, introduces the risk of misrepresentation. The reporter's role is to capture what was said, not to interpret or summarize it. This deviation from verbatim transcription undermines the integrity of the record. Professional reasoning. Professionals should approach such situations by maintaining strict adherence to verbatim transcription. When an objection is made, the reporter should transcribe the objection precisely as stated. If a response or ruling follows, that too should be transcribed verbatim. The reporter's internal process should be to listen carefully, identify the objection, note its specific wording, and then continue transcribing any subsequent dialogue related to that objection. If unsure about whether something constitutes an objection requiring specific notation beyond transcription, the reporter should err on the side of caution and transcribe it, as the record will ultimately be reviewed by legal professionals, who can assess its significance. Question 8. Comparative studies suggest that in the context of a deposition, a registered diplomate reporter must possess a clear understanding of fundamental legal terms to ensure accurate record-keeping. If a deponent states, "The plaintiff alleges that the defendant breached the contract," and later the opposing counsel asks about the burden of proof for that breach, then refers to a previously submitted affidavit from a witness, which of the following best describes the reporter's understanding of these terms in relation to the deposition record? Option A. The reporter understands that an allegation is a formal assertion, the burden of proof is the obligation to prove a claim, and an affidavit is a sworn written statement. Option B. The reporter understands that an allegation is a proven fact. The burden of proof is a statement made by the defendant, and an affidavit is an unsworn statement. Option C. The reporter understands that an allegation is a minor detail. The burden of proof is on the plaintiff to disprove, and an affidavit is a preliminary claim. Option D. The reporter understands that an allegation is a type of evidence. The burden of proof is irrelevant to the deposition, and an affidavit is a spoken testimony. The correct answer is A. The reporter understands that an allegation is a formal assertion, the burden of proof is the obligation to prove a claim, and an affidavit is a sworn written statement. Explanation. Scenario analysis. This scenario presents a challenge for a registered diplomate reporter, RDR, in understanding the nuances of legal terminology and their application within the context of a deposition. The RDR must accurately transcribe statements, while also recognizing the legal significance of terms like allegation, affidavit, and burden of proof. Misinterpreting or misapplying these terms could lead to an inaccurate record, potentially impacting the integrity of the legal proceedings. The RDR's role is to provide an objective and precise record, and this requires a foundational understanding of the legal framework within which they operate. Correct approach analysis. The correct approach demonstrates an understanding that an allegation is a formal assertion made by a party in a legal proceeding, which has not yet been proven. This aligns with the RDR's duty to accurately record what is stated, without making judgments about its truthfulness. An affidavit, conversely, is a sworn written statement, and its distinction from a mere allegation is crucial for accurate transcription and record-keeping. The burden of proof refers to the obligation of a party to prove their claims, a concept that underpins the entire legal process and is essential for the RDR to be aware of when transcribing testimony related to evidence. This approach correctly identifies the distinct legal meanings and implications of these terms within the context of a deposition. Incorrect approaches analysis. One incorrect approach might confuse an allegation with established evidence. An allegation is a claim, while evidence is information presented to support or refute a claim. Transcribing an allegation as if it were proven evidence would be a significant factual and legal error, violating the RDR's duty of accuracy. Another incorrect approach could misinterpret burden of proof as a statement made by a witness. The burden of proof is a legal principle, not typically a statement made by a deponent in the same way an allegation or a factual assertion is. Confusing these would demonstrate a lack of understanding of fundamental legal concepts. A third incorrect approach might equate an affidavit with a simple statement made during a deposition. An affidavit is a formal, sworn document, distinct from the unsworn testimony typically given in a deposition. Failing to recognize this distinction could lead to mischaracterization of the record. Professional reasoning. Professionals in this role should approach their work with a commitment to accuracy and a solid understanding of the legal terminology they encounter. This involves continuous learning and a willingness to consult relevant resources when unsure. When faced with potentially ambiguous legal terms, the RDR should prioritize accurate transcription of the spoken word, and if necessary, seek clarification from the court reporter supervisor or legal counsel involved in the proceeding. always adhering to the established protocols for such situations. The primary objective is to create a faithful and complete record of the deposition. Question 9. Market research demonstrates that clients often desire a highly condensed summary of deposition proceeding to quickly grasp key points. A registered Diplomate reporter is tasked with preparing a transcript for a complex litigation matter. The client has specifically requested a brief outline of the proceedings to facilitate their review. The reporter has considered several methods for achieving this conciseness while maintaining accuracy. Which method best balances the client's request for brevity with the reporter's professional obligation to create a faithful and complete record? Option A. Construct a comprehensive outline of the proceedings, detailing the flow of questioning and general subject matter, but without incorporating any verbatim quotes. Option B. Develop a detailed phrase brief that captures the essence of each question and answer. Then selectively expand key verbatim phrases and sentences from critical exchanges to ensure accuracy of specific statements. Option C. Create a highly condensed word brief, focusing on summarizing the main topics discussed and omitting any detailed dialogue or specific terminology. Option D. Rely solely on the standard verbatim transcript, advising the client that any attempt at summarization would compromise accuracy and professional standards. The correct answer is B. Develop a detailed phrase brief that captures the essence of each question and answer, then selectively expand key verbatim phrases and sentences from critical exchanges to ensure accuracy of specific statements. Explanation. This scenario presents a common challenge for registered Diplomate reporters, RDR, in managing client expectations and delivering accurate, efficient transcripts. The core difficulty lies in balancing the client's desire for a concise summary with the reporter's professional obligation to capture all legally relevant dialogue and nuances. The RDR must navigate the potential for misinterpretation or omission that can arise from oversimplification, while still providing a valuable service that meets the client's stated needs. A correct approach, focusing on developing a phrase brief and then expanding it with key verbatim phrases and sentences, represents best professional practice because it adheres to the fundamental principles of accurate record-keeping and client service. A phrase brief allows for efficient summarization of general discussion points, but its inherent limitation is its lack of verbatim detail. By subsequently incorporating verbatim phrases and sentences, the RDR ensures that critical statements, admissions, or specific legal terminology are preserved accurately. This hybrid approach provides both conciseness and essential detail, fulfilling the reporter's duty to create a reliable record while also offering a useful, condensed version for the client. This aligns with the RDR's responsibility to produce a transcript that is both complete and accessible, as per professional standards for reporting services. An approach that relies solely on a highly condensed word brief without subsequent expansion risks significant regulatory and ethical failures. A word brief, by its nature, strips away context and verbatim accuracy, potentially leading to misrepresentation of statements. This could violate the RDR's duty to provide a faithful and complete record, potentially exposing the client to legal jeopardy if critical information is omitted or misrepresented. Furthermore, failing to offer a mechanism for capturing verbatim detail when necessary could be seen as a failure to meet professional standards of care, potentially breaching contractual obligations with the client. Another incorrect approach, focusing exclusively on expanding a general outline without incorporating specific verbatim phrases, also presents challenges. While an outline provides structure, it can still be too generalized. Without the inclusion of precise verbatim statements, the reporter risks creating a summary that, while detailed in its structure, still lacks the critical accuracy of direct quotes. This can lead to the same issues of misinterpretation and omission as a word brief, albeit to a lesser degree. The professional reasoning process in such situations should always begin with a clear understanding of the client's needs and the legal implications of the proceedings being recorded. The RDR must then assess how to best meet those needs while upholding their professional obligations. This involves considering the nature of the proceedings, the client's specific requests, and the potential for any summarization to inadvertently alter the meaning of the spoken word. The reporter should always err on the side of caution, ensuring that any condensation is clearly delineated from verbatim reporting and that essential elements are preserved. Question 10. To address the challenge of accurately transcribing complex legal testimony using the Phoenix stenographic theory, which approach best demonstrates mastery and adherence to professional standards. Option A. Employing a hybrid approach that blends Phoenix theory with personal shorthand and educated guesses for any words or phrases that deviate from standard phonetic patterns. Option B. Prioritizing the completion of the transcript within the allotted time by using common abbreviations and approximations for technical terms that are not immediately recognizable within Phoenix theory. Option C. Consistently applying the established phonetic principles, stroke combinations, and brief forms of Phoenix theory to capture every spoken word verbatim, even when encountering unfamiliar technical terms or rapid speech. Option D. Focusing on capturing the general meaning of the testimony rather than a verbatim record, making interpretive decisions when faced with challenging dictation to ensure a coherent narrative. The correct answer is C. Consistently applying the established phonetic principles, stroke combinations, and brief forms of Phoenix theory to capture every spoken word verbatim, even when encountering unfamiliar technical terms or rapid speech. Explanation. This scenario presents a professional challenge for a registered Diplomate reporter (RDR) due to the inherent complexity of accurately transcribing highly technical legal testimony while adhering to strict stenographic theory principles. The challenge lies in balancing speed, accuracy, and the precise application of a chosen stenographic theory, in this case, Phoenix, under pressure, ensuring that every nuance of the spoken word is captured verbatim. The RDR must demonstrate not only proficiency in their chosen theory, but also the judgment to apply it consistently and correctly, even when faced with unfamiliar terminology or rapid speech patterns. The correct approach represents best professional practice because it prioritizes the foundational principles of the chosen stenographic theory, Phoenix, to achieve verbatim accuracy. This involves a deep understanding of Phoenix theory's specific stroke combinations, brief forms, and phonetic principles. By meticulously applying these established rules, the RDR ensures that the resulting transcript is a faithful and legally defensible record of the proceedings. This adherence to theory directly supports the RDR's ethical obligation to produce an accurate and complete record, which is paramount in legal settings. The RDR's commitment to mastering and applying their theory is a direct reflection of their professional competence and dedication to the integrity of the record. An incorrect approach that relies on guesswork or improvisation, deviating from established Phoenix theory principles, represents a significant regulatory and ethical failure. Such an approach risks introducing inaccuracies into the transcript, which could have serious legal ramifications for the parties involved. Demonstrates a lack of mastery of the required stenographic theory, violating the RDR's professional standards and potentially breaching guidelines that mandate verbatim reporting. Furthermore, it undermines the trust placed in the RDR to provide an impartial and precise record. Another incorrect approach, such as prioritizing speed over theoretical accuracy, also fails to meet the core requirements of the RDR designation. While speed is a component of efficient reporting, it must never come at the expense of verbatim accuracy dictated by the chosen stenographic theory. This failure compromises the integrity of the transcript and the RDR's professional standing. The professional decision-making process for similar situations should involve a continuous cycle of theoretical review, practice, and self-assessment. RDRs should regularly revisit the core tenets of their chosen stenographic theory, engage in targeted practice exercises that simulate challenging reporting environments, and seek feedback on their work. When encountering unfamiliar terminology or difficult dictation, the immediate response should be to consult their theoretical knowledge and apply the appropriate phonetic or brief form principles. If a word or phrase remains elusive despite best efforts, the professional protocol involves noting the uncertainty and, if possible, seeking clarification from the court or counsel after the record is made, rather than making an educated guess that deviates from theory. This methodical approach ensures that pursuit of accuracy is always grounded in the established principles of stenographic theory. Question 11. The assessment process reveals that during the direct examination of a crucial witness in an arbitration, a registered Diplomate reporter needs to introduce a series of financial documents. The witness has personal knowledge of these documents, which questioning technique and exhibit handling approach best upholds the integrity of the testimony and the evidentiary record. Option A. State the contents of each document and ask the witness if those contents are accurate. Option B. Ask the witness if they have seen the documents before and then proceed to summarize the key findings of the documents for the witness. Option C. Present each document to the witness and immediately ask detailed questions about specific figures and clauses within the documents. Option D. Ask the witness to identify each document by its exhibit number, and then ask open-ended questions about the contents and significance of each document. The correct answer is D. Ask the witness to identify each document by its exhibit number, and then ask open-ended questions about the contents and significance of each document. Explanation. The assessment process reveals a scenario where a registered diplomate reporter, RDR, is conducting direct examination of a key witness in a complex arbitration proceeding. The challenge lies in balancing the need to elicit clear, concise, and accurate testimony with the imperative to adhere strictly to the rules of evidence and professional conduct governing RDRs, particularly concerning the handling of exhibits and the avoidance of leading questions. The RDR must guide the witness to provide their account without suggesting answers, while also ensuring that documentary evidence is properly introduced and authenticated. The correct approach represents best professional practice because it prioritizes the integrity of the record and the fairness of the proceedings. By using open-ended questions and carefully framing requests for exhibit identification, the RDR ensures that the testimony is the witness's own, uninfluenced by the examiner. This aligns with the RDR's ethical duty to accurately and impartially record testimony. Furthermore, the methodical introduction of exhibits, allowing the witness to identify and authenticate them before detailed questioning about their contents, adheres to established evidentiary principles and the RDR's role in facilitating the orderly presentation of evidence. An incorrect approach involving leading questions during direct examination is a significant regulatory and ethical failure. Leading questions, which suggest the desired answer, violate fundamental principles of direct examination, as they can distort the witness's testimony and undermine its reliability. This directly contravenes the RDR's obligation to elicit truthful and uncoerced testimony. Another incorrect approach, such as attempting to introduce an exhibit and then immediately questioning its contents without allowing the witness to identify and authenticate it, demonstrates a lack of understanding of evidentiary procedure and can lead to the exhibit being inadmissible or its probative value diminished. This reflects a failure to competently perform the duties of an RDR in managing the presentation of evidence. Professionals should employ a decision-making framework that begins with a thorough understanding of the rules of evidence and the specific procedural rules of the forum. In this case, arbitration rules applicable to RDRs. They must then anticipate the flow of testimony, preparing open-ended questions designed to elicit narrative responses. When introducing exhibits, the process should be to present the exhibit, ask the witness to identify it, and then seek authentication before delving into its substance. Continuous self-monitoring for leading questions and a commitment to impartiality are crucial throughout the examination. Question 12. The evaluation methodology shows that in a complex business law dispute involving allegations of intellectual property infringement, a registered diplomate reporter is tasked with transcribing a deposition. During the deposition, a witness makes a statement that is ambiguous and could be interpreted in multiple ways, potentially impacting the assessment of patent validity. The reporter is confident they understand the intended meaning, but is aware that a precise verbatim transcription might highlight the ambiguity, potentially leading to further legal arguments. What is the RDR's primary professional obligation in this situation? Option A. To transcribe the statement verbatim, including any ambiguity, to ensure the accuracy and completeness of the official record. Option B. To omit the ambiguous statement from the transcript if it is deemed unlikely to be a central point of contention. Option C. To paraphrase the ambiguous statement to present a more concise and easily understandable version for the record. Option D. To interpret the witness's intended meaning and transcribe the statement in a way that clarifies the ambiguity for the court. The correct answer is A. To transcribe the statement verbatim, including any ambiguity, to ensure the accuracy and completeness of the official record. Explanation. Scenario analysis. This scenario presents a professional challenge for a registered diplomate reporter, RDR, due to the inherent conflict between the duty to accurately record proceedings and the potential for misinterpretation or misrepresentation of sensitive information. The RDR must navigate the delicate balance of verbatim reporting while understanding the potential legal ramifications of any inaccuracies, particularly in the context of a high-stakes business law dispute involving intellectual property. The challenge lies in ensuring that the transcript, which serves as a critical piece of evidence, is a faithful and complete reflection of the spoken word, without introducing bias or omitting crucial details that could impact the case's outcome. Correct approach analysis. The correct approach involves a meticulous and objective transcription process, adhering strictly to the principles of verbatim reporting as mandated by professional standards and relevant legal frameworks governing evidence. This includes accurately capturing all spoken words, pauses, and nonverbal cues that might be relevant to the proceedings. The RDR's duty is to be a neutral conduit of information, ensuring the integrity of the record. This approach represents best professional practice because it upholds the fundamental requirement of accuracy in legal documentation, which is essential for due process and the fair administration of justice. It aligns with the ethical obligations of an RDR to provide an impartial and complete record, thereby safeguarding the reliability of the transcript as evidence in court. Incorrect approaches analysis. One incorrect approach would be to selectively omit or paraphrase statements deemed less critical by the reporter. This is a regulatory and ethical failure because it violates the principle of verbatim reporting. The RDR is not a legal interpreter or judge of relevance. Their role is to record what is said. Omitting or paraphrasing can lead to a misrepresentation of the proceedings, potentially prejudicing one party and undermining the evidentiary value of the transcript. Another incorrect approach would be to include personal interpretations or assumptions about the speaker's intentions or the meaning of their statements. This constitutes a significant ethical breach and a failure to adhere to professional standards. The RDR's role is to report the spoken word, not to inject subjective analysis. Such actions can introduce bias into the record, leading to disputes over the accuracy of the transcript and potentially impacting the legal proceedings. A third incorrect approach would be to rely on memory or informal notes rather than a comprehensive recording system. This is a failure to meet the basic technical requirements of professional reporting and carries a high risk of inaccuracy. Legal proceedings demand a high degree of precision, and relying on anything less than a robust recording and transcription method is a dereliction of duty, potentially rendering the transcript inadmissible or unreliable as evidence. Professional reasoning. Professionals in this field must adopt a decision-making process that prioritizes accuracy, objectivity, and adherence to established reporting standards. This involves understanding the legal context of the proceedings and the critical role the transcript plays as evidence. When faced with ambiguity or potentially sensitive information, the RDR should err on the side of complete and verbatim recording, rather than making subjective judgments. If clarification is needed, it should be sought from the court or presiding officer, not inferred by the reporter. The professional's primary responsibility is to the integrity of the record. Question 13. The audit findings indicate that a significant portion of recent transcripts submitted by registered Diplomate reporters contained minor inaccuracies and omissions when compared against the original audio recordings, raising concerns about the verbatim nature of the final documentation. In light of these findings and the regulatory framework governing the accuracy of official records, which of the following approaches to transcription and editing best upholds professional standards and regulatory compliance? Option A. Prioritize speed and efficiency by performing a superficial review, focusing on major omissions or nonsensical phrases, and making minor edits without a full cross-reference to the audio. Option B. Conduct a thorough and meticulous review of each transcript against the original audio recording, making all necessary corrections to ensure absolute verbatim accuracy, even if it requires additional time beyond the initial estimate. Option C. Rely primarily on the accuracy of the transcription software, performing only a quick scan for obvious errors, and assuming the software has captured the majority of the content correctly. Option D. Edit the transcript to improve clarity and flow, making educated guesses to fill in any unclear sections or correct perceived grammatical errors, without always referring back to the original audio. The correct answer is B. Conduct a thorough and meticulous review of each transcript against the original audio recording, making all necessary corrections to ensure absolute verbatim accuracy, even if it requires additional time beyond the initial estimate. Explanation. Scenario analysis. This scenario presents a professional challenge due to the inherent tension between the need for accuracy and completeness in transcription, and the pressure to deliver work within tight deadlines. The auditor's findings highlight a potential compromise in the quality of the final transcript, which directly impacts the integrity of the record. Registered Diplomate reporters are held to a high standard of accuracy and must ensure their work is a faithful representation of the spoken word, especially in legal or official proceedings. The challenge lies in balancing efficiency with the non-negotiable requirement of verbatim accuracy. Correct approach analysis. The correct approach involves a thorough review and correction of the transcript against the audio recording, prioritizing accuracy over speed. This aligns with the core professional responsibility of a registered Diplomate reporter to produce a verbatim record. The CISI, Chartered Institute for Securities and Investment, guidelines, which are relevant for professionals in regulated financial environments, emphasize the importance of accuracy and integrity in all documentation. Failing to meticulously check and correct the transcript against the audio recording would be a breach of professional duty and could lead to misinterpretations or factual errors in subsequent proceedings, potentially impacting legal outcomes or regulatory compliance. This approach upholds the principle of duty of care to ensure the accuracy of the record. Incorrect approach is analysis. One incorrect approach involves accepting the initial transcript without a full review, relying solely on the transcription software's accuracy. This is a significant regulatory and ethical failure. It disregards the inherent limitations of automated transcription technology, which can misinterpret accents, background noise, or technical jargon. This failure directly contravenes the expectation of a verbatim record and the reporter's responsibility to ensure its accuracy. It also breaches the professional standard of diligence and care expected by regulatory bodies like the CISI, which require a human element of verification for critical documentation. Another incorrect approach is to perform a cursory review, focusing only on obvious errors or omissions, while still prioritizing speed. Better than no review, this still falls short of the required standard. It implies a selective approach to accuracy, which is unacceptable when a verbatim record is mandated. This approach risks overlooking subtle but critical inaccuracies that could have significant consequences. Ethically, it represents a failure to exercise due diligence and a potential misrepresentation of the spoken record. A third incorrect approach is to make assumptions about the speaker's intent or meaning to fill in gaps or correct perceived errors without consulting the audio. This is a direct violation of the verbatim transcription principle. A reporter's role is to record what is said, not to interpret or rephrase it. This approach introduces subjective bias and can fundamentally alter the meaning of the original statement, leading to factual inaccuracies and a compromised record. This is a serious ethical lapse and a breach of professional conduct, as it undermines the neutrality and objectivity required of a reporter. Professional reasoning. Professionals facing such a situation should adopt a systematic approach. First, acknowledge the audit finding as a critical feedback point requiring immediate attention. Second, prioritize the integrity of the record above all else. This means allocating sufficient time for a comprehensive review against the audio. Third, understand that while efficiency is valued, it must never come at the expense of accuracy. Fourth, if time constraints are a genuine issue, the professional should communicate this proactively to the relevant parties and seek an extension or additional resources, rather than compromising the quality of the work. Finally, use the audit finding as a learning opportunity to refine personal transcription and editing processes, potentially incorporating more robust quality control checks. Question 14. Consider a scenario where during a high-profile criminal trial, a key witness provides testimony that is later deemed inadmissible by the judge due to procedural errors in its collection. As a registered Diplomate reporter, you have accurately recorded this testimony verbatim. The media outside the courtroom is eager for details, and there is significant public interest in the case. What is the most appropriate course of action regarding the reporting of this inadmissible testimony? Option A. Report the testimony as if it were admissible, focusing on its sensational aspects to satisfy public curiosity. Option B. Include the inadmissible testimony in your report and offer your own analysis of why the judge's ruling was incorrect. Option C. Omit any mention of the inadmissible testimony from your reporting to avoid any potential prejudice to the ongoing legal proceedings. Option D. Report the testimony accurately as recorded, but include a clear notation that the judge subsequently ruled it inadmissible and explain the reason for its exclusion from the official record. The correct answer is D. Report the testimony accurately as recorded, but include a clear notation that the judge subsequently ruled it inadmissible and explain the reason for its exclusion from the official record. Explanation. This scenario presents a professional challenge due to the inherent tension between a reporter's duty to accurately and impartially report on court proceedings and the potential for their reporting to influence public perception or even the judicial process itself. The registered diplomate reporter designation implies a commitment to the highest standards of accuracy, impartiality, and adherence to legal and ethical guidelines governing court reporting. Careful judgment is required to navigate the complexities of courtroom procedures, particularly when dealing with sensitive information or potentially prejudicial statements. The correct approach represents best professional practice because it prioritizes adherence to the specific rules of the court and the ethical obligations of a court reporter. This includes ensuring verbatim accuracy, maintaining neutrality, and understanding the limitations on what can be reported or how it can be framed, especially concerning matters that may be subject to suppression orders or are otherwise inadmissible. The registered diplomate reporter's role is to be a neutral conduit of information, not an interpreter or commentator. This approach upholds the integrity of the judicial process by providing an accurate record and avoiding any action that could be construed as influencing the outcome or public opinion of a case. An incorrect approach that involves selectively reporting or emphasizing certain aspects of testimony, even if factually accurate, fails to uphold the principle of impartiality. This can lead to a distorted representation of the proceedings and potentially prejudice a jury or the public. Such an approach violates the ethical duty to present a balanced and complete account. Another incorrect approach, such as speculating on the guilt or innocence of a party based on courtroom events, is a direct contravention of the reporter's role and ethical obligations. This constitutes an overreach of authority and can have severe legal and ethical repercussions, undermining the reporter's credibility and the fairness of the justice system. Furthermore, failing to adhere to any specific court orders regarding reporting restrictions, such as those concerning sensitive evidence or ongoing investigations, is a clear regulatory and ethical failure, potentially leading to contempt of court charges and severe professional sanctions. Professionals should employ a decision-making framework that begins with a thorough understanding of the specific court's rules of procedure and any relevant judicial orders. This is followed by a rigorous application of ethical codes governing court reporting, emphasizing accuracy, impartiality, and neutrality. When faced with ambiguity or potentially sensitive information, the professional should err on the side of caution, seeking clarification from court officials if necessary, and always prioritizing the integrity of the record and the fairness of the proceedings over any perceived journalistic imperative to sensationalize or interpret. Question 15. The investigation demonstrates that a registered diplomate reporter, while covering a high-profile trial, receives a critical piece of information from a trusted source that could significantly impact the legal strategy of one of the parties. The attorneys for that party are actively seeking updates. Which of the following represents the most professionally responsible course of action for the reporter? Option A. Verify the information thoroughly with the source, and then communicate it directly to the lead attorney for the party through the established secure communication channel. Option B. Share the information with a colleague outside the immediate case to get their opinion on how best to present it to the attorneys. Option C. Immediately relay the information to the attorneys for the party, emphasizing that it is a direct communication from a trusted source, even if some minor details are still being corroborated. Option D. Hold on to the information until the reporter can independently confirm every aspect of its implications, to avoid any potential misinterpretation by the legal team. The correct answer is C. Immediately relay the information to the attorneys for the party, emphasizing that it is a direct communication from a trusted source, even if some minor details are still being corroborated. Explanation. Scenario analysis. This scenario presents a common challenge in the legal profession where a reporter must balance the need for immediate, accurate information with the ethical and regulatory obligations to maintain confidentiality and avoid prejudicing ongoing proceedings. The pressure to provide real-time updates to attorneys who are actively engaged in litigation can create a temptation to share information prematurely or in a manner that could be misconstrued or misused. The reporter's role is to be an impartial conduit of information, not an active participant in strategy or a disseminator of unverified details. Correct approach analysis. The correct approach prioritizes accuracy, verification, and adherence to established protocols for communicating sensitive information. By confirming the information with the source and then relaying it through the appropriate channels to the legal team, the reporter ensures that the attorneys receive verified facts. This aligns with the professional duty of a registered Diplomate reporter to provide accurate and timely information while respecting the integrity of the legal process and maintaining professional boundaries. This approach upholds the principles of impartiality and reliability expected in legal reporting. Incorrect approaches analysis. One incorrect approach involves immediately relaying unconfirmed details to the attorneys. This fails to meet the standard of accuracy and could lead to attorneys acting on false or incomplete information, potentially jeopardizing their case or violating court orders. It also bypasses established verification procedures, demonstrating a lack of diligence. Another incorrect approach is to delay communication until the reporter is absolutely certain of every nuance and implication. While thoroughness is important, excessive delay in relaying critical, verified information can hinder the attorney's ability to respond effectively, especially in time-sensitive situations. This approach prioritizes an unattainable level of certainty over practical, timely dissemination of verified facts. A third incorrect approach is to discuss the details of the ongoing proceedings with parties outside the immediate legal team without proper authorization. This constitutes a breach of confidentiality and could lead to the unauthorized disclosure of sensitive information, potentially influencing witnesses or the jury pool, and violating professional conduct rules. Professional reasoning. Professionals in this role must develop a decision-making framework that prioritizes accuracy, timeliness, and ethical conduct. This involves understanding the specific communication protocols within their organization and for the legal teams they serve. It requires a clear understanding of what constitutes verified information versus speculation. When faced with a situation requiring communication, professionals should ask, is the information verified? Is it relevant to the immediate needs of the legal team? What are the established channels for relaying this information? What are the potential consequences of sharing this information now versus waiting? By systematically evaluating these questions, professionals can make informed decisions that uphold their ethical obligations and professional standards. Question 16. Upon reviewing a sensitive ongoing criminal investigation, a registered Diplomate reporter has gathered information that, if published immediately, could potentially alert suspects and compromise the investigation, or conversely, could be crucial for public awareness. The reporter is aware of the legal ramifications of prejudicing a trial. What is the most ethically and legally sound course of action? Option A. Consult with legal counsel specializing in media law to determine what information can be reported without jeopardizing the investigation or trial, and adhere strictly to their guidance. Option B. Publish all gathered information immediately to ensure the public is informed, assuming the public's right to know outweighs potential investigative interference. Option C. Rely solely on official statements from law enforcement regarding what can be published, without seeking independent legal advice. Option D. Withhold all information indefinitely until the case is completely closed and all legal proceedings are concluded, to avoid any possibility of interference. The correct answer is A. Consult with legal counsel specializing in media law to determine what information can be reported without jeopardizing the investigation or trial, and adhere strictly to their guidance. Explanation. This scenario presents a professional challenge due to the inherent conflict between a reporter's duty to accurately and impartially report information and the potential for that information to cause harm or prejudice legal proceedings. The reporter must navigate the delicate balance of fulfilling their professional obligations while respecting the legal process and the rights of individuals involved. Careful judgment is required to ensure that reporting is factual, unbiased, and does not interfere with justice. The correct approach represents best professional practice because it prioritizes the integrity of the legal process and the presumption of innocence. By seeking clarification from legal counsel and adhering to their guidance regarding what can be reported without jeopardizing the investigation or trial. The reporter demonstrates a commitment to ethical journalism and legal compliance. This approach upholds the principles of fairness and due process, ensuring that reporting does not unduly influence potential jurors or compromise the investigation. An incorrect approach that involves immediately publishing all gathered information, regardless of its potential impact on the ongoing investigation, fails to acknowledge the reporter's ethical responsibility to avoid prejudicing legal proceedings. This could lead to accusations of contempt of court or obstruction of justice, depending on the specific jurisdiction's laws. It disregards the potential harm to the investigation and the rights of the accused. Another incorrect approach, that of withholding all information indefinitely until the case is fully resolved, while seemingly cautious, may also be professionally problematic. It could be argued that the public has a right to know about matters of public interest, and indefinite suppression of factual information, without clear legal justification, could infringe upon journalistic freedom and the public's right to information. This approach might also be seen as an overreaction, failing to distinguish between information that is genuinely prejudicial and information that is factual and reportable. A further incorrect approach, that of relying solely on the statements of law enforcement without independent verification or legal consultation, is risky. While law enforcement provides information, their statements may be incomplete, biased, or intended to shape public perception. Without seeking legal advice on the reportability of such statements in the context of an ongoing investigation, the reporter risks publishing information that could be legally problematic or inaccurate. A professional decision-making process for similar situations should involve a thorough assessment of the information's potential impact on legal proceedings. This includes consulting with legal counsel specializing in media law to understand the specific reporting restrictions applicable to the jurisdiction and the case. Reporters should strive for factual accuracy and impartiality, reporting what can be verified and is legally permissible, while being mindful of the presumption of innocence and the integrity of the justice system. Question 17. Cost-benefit analysis shows that investing in advanced transcription software can reduce errors, but a registered Diplomate reporter's opening statement delivery must prioritize verbatim accuracy. If a party's opening statement includes a lengthy, anecdotal digression that appears tangential to the core legal arguments, what is the RDR's primary professional obligation regarding the delivery and transcription of this statement? Option A. Interject to ask the speaker to return to the main arguments, ensuring the transcript reflects a more concise presentation. Option B. Record the entire digression verbatim, as the reporter's role is to capture all spoken words without judgment or alteration. Option C. Briefly summarize the tangential digression to save time and focus the transcript on legally relevant points. Option D. Omit the tangential digression entirely, as it is unlikely to be considered in the final judgment and would clutter the record. The correct answer is B. Record the entire digression verbatim, as the reporter's role is to capture all spoken words without judgment or alteration. Explanation. The scenario presents a common challenge for a registered Diplomate reporter, RDR, where the need to accurately and efficiently capture proceedings clashes with the potential for a party to introduce extraneous or misleading information during their opening statement. The professional challenge lies in balancing the reporter's duty to record verbatim with the need to maintain the integrity and focus of the record, particularly when the opening statement might be designed to prejudice the proceedings or introduce irrelevant details. Careful judgment is required to ensure the reporter's actions do not inadvertently validate or amplify potentially improper content. The correct approach represents best professional practice because it adheres strictly to the RDR's core duty to create an accurate and verbatim record of what is said. By focusing on the content of the opening statement as presented by the speaker, without editorializing or attempting to preemptively judge its relevance or truthfulness, the reporter upholds the principle of neutrality. This aligns with the ethical obligations of a court reporter to be an impartial observer and recorder. The regulatory framework for RDRs emphasizes accuracy and completeness of the transcript, which is paramount for subsequent legal review and decision-making. Introducing personal judgment or attempting to filter content during the recording phase would be a significant departure from these requirements and could lead to an incomplete or biased record. An incorrect approach that involves the reporter attempting to clarify or correct the opening statement as it is being delivered would be a regulatory and ethical failure. This constitutes an unauthorized intervention in the proceedings, exceeding the reporter's mandate. It introduces the reporter's subjective interpretation into the official record, compromising its verbatim nature. Furthermore, it could be seen as an attempt to influence the proceedings, which is a serious ethical breach. Another incorrect approach, such as omitting parts of the opening statement deemed unnecessary by the reporter, would be a direct violation of the requirement to produce a complete and accurate transcript. This omission would create a false record, potentially depriving parties of crucial information and undermining the fairness of the legal process. Such actions would be contrary to the fundamental principles of RDR practice and could lead to disciplinary action. The professional reasoning process for a reporter in this situation should involve a clear understanding of their role as a neutral conduit for the spoken word. When faced with an opening statement that seems to stray from the core issues, the reporter's primary responsibility is to record it accurately and completely. If there are concerns about the admissibility or relevance of the content, these are matters for the presiding judicial officer or arbitrator to address. The reporter's decision-making process should prioritize adherence to the verbatim recording standard, ensuring that the transcript is a faithful representation of the proceedings, regardless of the content's perceived merit or appropriateness by the reporter. Question 18. Examination of the data shows a sudden and unexpected loss of the real-time transcription feed during a critical court proceeding. The reporter's software indicates a connection error, and the real-time text is no longer updating. The reporter has a backup recording device running. What is the most appropriate immediate course of action to ensure the integrity of the official record? Option A. Immediately restart the real-time transcription software and hardware, assuming the connection will re-establish automatically once the system is rebooted, and continue transcribing without further immediate checks. Option B. Cease all transcription activities and wait for technical support to arrive on site to diagnose and resolve the issue before resuming any recording or transcription. Option C. Inform the court that the real-time feed has failed and proceed to solely rely on the audio recording, discontinuing any further attempts to capture real-time text until the issue is resolved by external IT personnel. Option D. Immediately attempt to re-establish the real-time connection while simultaneously initiating a manual backup of the captured real-time text to a separate secure location, and then proceed to verify the integrity of the recorded audio against the captured text once the connection is restored or a stable backup is secured. The correct answer is D. Immediately attempt to re-establish the real-time connection while simultaneously initiating a manual backup of the captured real-time text to a separate secure location, and then proceed to verify the integrity of the recorded audio against the captured text once the connection is restored or a stable backup is secured. Explanation. The scenario presents a common but critical challenge for a registered Diplomate reporter, a technical failure during a live transcription, impacting the integrity and accessibility of the official record. The professional challenge lies in balancing the immediate need to restore functionality with the paramount duty to ensure accuracy, completeness, and adherence to regulatory standards for record keeping. The reporter must act decisively while remaining within the bounds of their professional responsibilities and the governing regulatory framework. The correct approach represents best professional practice because it prioritizes the immediate mitigation of the technical issue while simultaneously initiating the process of ensuring the accuracy and completeness of the record. This involves a multi-pronged strategy, attempting a swift resolution, documenting the issue and its impact, and then taking concrete steps to rectify the record. This aligns with the core ethical and regulatory obligations of a registered Diplomate reporter to produce a reliable and verifiable record. Specifically, it upholds the principles of accuracy, completeness, and diligence as mandated by the regulatory framework governing their practice. An incorrect approach that focuses solely on restarting the system without immediate verification of data integrity would be professionally unacceptable. This failure to confirm data capture before proceeding risks creating an incomplete or corrupted record, a direct violation of the duty to produce an accurate and complete transcript. Furthermore, failing to document the incident and its resolution would hinder post-event review and accountability, potentially contravening record-keeping requirements. Another incorrect approach, such as abandoning the session without attempting any resolution or notification, would be a severe breach of professional duty. This demonstrates a lack of diligence and a failure to uphold the reporter's commitment to providing a continuous and accurate record. It would also likely violate service-level agreements and client expectations, leading to potential disciplinary action. The professional reasoning process for similar situations should involve a rapid assessment of the technical issue, immediate implementation of troubleshooting steps within the reporter's purview, clear and timely communication with relevant parties, e.g., court officials, clients, meticulous documentation of the problem and all actions taken, and a proactive approach to ensuring the integrity and completeness of the final record. This decision-making framework emphasizes preparedness, problem-solving, communication, and adherence to regulatory and ethical standards. Question 19. Performance analysis shows that during a deposition, a witness becomes visibly distressed, their voice trembling, and their responses becoming increasingly fragmented and difficult to understand. The reporter observes that this emotional state is significantly hindering the clarity and coherence of the testimony being recorded. What is the most appropriate course of action for the registered diplomate reporter in this situation? Option A. Attempt to rephrase the witness's fragmented statements to make them more coherent for the record. Option B. Discreetly and professionally inform the presiding officer or judge that the witness's demeanor is impacting the clarity of the testimony. Option C. Continue to record verbatim without any interruption or comment, assuming the witness will eventually regain composure. Option D. Directly address the witness, suggesting they take a moment to compose themselves, or ask if they need a break. Correct answer is B. Discreetly and professionally inform the presiding officer or judge that the witness's demeanor is impacting the clarity of the testimony. Explanation. Scenario analysis. This scenario presents a common challenge for a registered diplomate reporter, managing a witness whose testimony is becoming increasingly emotional and potentially unreliable due to distress. The reporter's primary duty is to accurately and impartially record the proceedings. However, the reporter also has a professional responsibility to ensure the integrity of the record and, where possible, facilitate a clear and accurate account. The challenge lies in balancing the need for verbatim reporting with the potential for a witness's emotional state to compromise the clarity and accuracy of their statements, without overstepping the reporter's role into that of an advocate or judge. Correct approach analysis. The correct approach involves discreetly and professionally signaling to the presiding officer that the witness's demeanor is impacting the testimony. This upholds best professional practice by respecting the reporter's role as an impartial observer and recorder. The reporter's duty is to the record and the court, not to manage the witness directly. By alerting the judge or presiding officer, the reporter allows the appropriate authority to assess the situation and take necessary action, such as a brief recess or a clarifying question. This adheres to the principles of accuracy and impartiality fundamental to the role of a registered diplomate reporter, ensuring that any intervention is handled by the person with the authority to do so, thereby maintaining the integrity of the judicial process. Incorrect approaches analysis. Directly intervening with the witness to calm them down or suggest they take a break is a regulatory and ethical failure. This oversteps the reporter's defined role, which is to record, not to manage or direct witness behavior. Such an action could be perceived as coaching or influencing the witness, compromising the impartiality of the record. It also usurps the authority of the presiding officer. Attempting to rephrase the witness's statements to make them clearer, even with good intentions, is also a failure. While a reporter might note that statement is unclear, actively rephrasing it can introduce the reporter's interpretation, thereby distorting the verbatim record. The reporter's role is to capture what is said, not what is meant or what could be said more clearly. Clarification should come from the witness or through questioning by counsel or the court. Ignoring the witness's distress and continuing to record verbatim without any acknowledgement is also problematic, though less of a direct ethical breach than the other incorrect approaches. While technically fulfilling the verbatim requirement, it fails to address a situation that is demonstrably impacting the clarity and potential accuracy of the testimony. A professional reporter should recognize when a witness's demeanor is creating an impediment to a clear record and seek the appropriate avenue for resolution, which is to inform the presiding officer. Professional reasoning. Professionals in this role should employ a decision-making process that prioritizes their core duties of accuracy and impartiality. When faced with a witness whose demeanor is affecting their testimony, The first step is to observe and note the impact on the record. The next step is to consider the appropriate channel for addressing the situation without compromising their role. This typically involves discreetly informing the presiding officer, who has the authority to manage the proceedings and the witnesses. This process ensures that the reporter remains an objective recorder while contributing to the overall integrity of the judicial process. Question 20. The audit findings indicate that the real-time dictionary used by the court reporting team has not undergone a comprehensive review and update process in over 18 months, leading to an increase in flagged transcription errors during recent proceedings. Considering the importance of an accurate and reliable official record, which of the following approaches to managing the real-time dictionary best aligns with professional standards and regulatory expectations for a registered Diplomate reporter? Option A. Rely primarily on the automatic spell check and grammar correction features of the transcription software to identify and correct potential errors in the dictionary, supplementing only with manual corrections when significant issues are reported post-proceeding. Option B. Conduct a full dictionary overhaul only when a substantial number of transcription errors are identified by external parties or during a formal audit, focusing on immediate fixes rather than preventative maintenance. Option C. Prioritize the rapid addition of new terms and phrases encountered during proceedings to the dictionary, assuming that most errors will be minor and can be corrected during the final transcript review process. Option D. Implement a rigorous, ongoing process for reviewing, validating, and updating the real-time dictionary, including scheduled testing of new entries and modifications before full integration, and establishing a clear protocol for incorporating feedback and new terminology. The correct answer is D. Implement a rigorous, ongoing process for reviewing, validating, and updating the real-time dictionary, including scheduled testing of new entries and modifications before full integration, and establishing a clear protocol for incorporating feedback and new terminology. Explanation. Scenario analysis. This scenario presents a common implementation challenge in the field of court reporting, specifically concerning the management of a real-time dictionary. The challenge lies in balancing the immediate need for accuracy and efficiency during live transcription with the long-term requirement for a robust, error-free, and legally defensible record. The audit findings highlight a potential gap between operational expediency and regulatory compliance, demanding a nuanced approach to dictionary maintenance. Professionals must navigate the pressure of live proceedings while ensuring the integrity of the dictionary, which directly impacts the accuracy and reliability of the official transcript. This requires a proactive and systematic methodology rather than a reactive one. Correct approach analysis. The correct approach involves a systematic and ongoing process of dictionary review, refinement, and validation. This includes regular updates based on new terminology, common misspellings identified during transcription, and feedback from legal professionals. Crucially, it necessitates a structured method for testing new entries or modifications before they are fully integrated into the live dictionary. This validation process ensures that proposed changes do not inadvertently introduce errors or conflicts, thereby maintaining the integrity of the real-time feed and the subsequent transcript. Adherence to best practices in dictionary management, as implicitly guided by the standards expected of a registered Diplomate reporter, ensures that the reporter's output is accurate, reliable, and meets the stringent requirements for official court records. This proactive stance minimizes the risk of transcription errors that could have significant legal ramifications. Incorrect approaches analysis. One incorrect approach involves solely relying on automatic spell check features without manual review. This is professionally unacceptable because automatic tools often fail to recognize context-specific legal jargon, proper nouns, or specialized terminology, leading to incorrect suggestions or omissions. This can result in inaccurate transcriptions, which is a direct violation of the reporter's duty to produce a faithful record. Another incorrect approach is to only update the dictionary when a significant error is discovered during a post-proceeding review. This reactive strategy is insufficient as it allows errors to persist during live transcription, potentially impacting the immediate understanding and use of the record by participants. It also creates a backlog of corrections and undermines the reliability of the real-time feed. Ethically, reporters are expected to maintain the highest standards of accuracy throughout the entire transcription process, not just retrospectively. A third incorrect approach is to prioritize speed of entry over accuracy when adding new terms. This can lead to the inclusion of misspelled or incorrectly defined terms in the dictionary. Such an approach compromises the fundamental principle of accurate record keeping and can introduce systemic errors into future transcriptions, which is a serious ethical and professional failing. The integrity of the official record is paramount, and any practice that jeopardizes this is unacceptable. Professional reasoning. Professionals in this field must adopt a decision-making framework that prioritizes accuracy, integrity, and compliance. This involves 1. Understanding the critical role of the real-time dictionary in producing an accurate and legally sound transcript. 2. Implementing a proactive and systematic approach to dictionary management that includes regular review, validation, and testing of all changes. 3. Recognizing the limitations of automated tools and the necessity of human oversight and judgment. 4. Prioritizing the integrity of the record above all else, even under time pressure. 5. Staying abreast of evolving legal terminology and reporting standards. This structured approach ensures that the reporter consistently upholds their professional obligations and the trust placed in them to create an accurate record.